We humans have a cosmic skill that we can use to defeat the controllers of this planet. In this video, I'm going to explain what that is and how we can develop it. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and I work together with an interdimensional, interuniversal, and extraterrestrial force known as Telstar, along with Archangel Michael. In my previous videos, I talked about how we as lightworkers, starseeds, and awakening humans need to expand our consciousness into full spectrum awakening. In this video, I'm going to talk about how we can begin that process by developing our cosmic skill of manifestation. Now, the controllers know how to manifest too. They are really good at manifesting garbage. And that's about all they're capable of. Like I said before, these are very primitive, unevolved beings. They only look powerful because we have never truly risen to the power of who we really are. So I'm going to show you exactly the method that they use to manifest their destructive garbage and how that differs from the way in which we human beings are cosmically designed to operate. I think you're going to find this truly fascinating. When you understand the difference, you will be able to climb out of this hole they're digging for us and position yourself to stay on a higher timeline of natural evolution. This is one of the best ways to defeat the controllers and not fall into their cosmic trap of a lower AI timeline. As natural human beings, we are creators by nature. Our greatest skill is manifestation, which is really another word for create. In our purest state, we are meant to manifest beauty and abundance. That's because the definition of beauty is love manifesting in form. And that is Archangel Michael's definition, by the way. We are also meant to manifest abundance because that is the nature of the infinite light from which we came. So our origin can be found in the presence and power of the infinite light and love of the Creator of all that is. Now, when love expresses itself, it always manifests as beauty. And when light expresses itself, it always manifests as abundance. That's the simplicity of our primordial state of being. And that's what we're meant to manifest as creators. So you have the infinite omniverse with an infinite amount of space, so that profound states of unlimited beauty and endless abundance can be created and manifested in an endless number of forms. This is meant to be our true playground of manifestation in this universe. But something has obviously gone wrong in the universe that we currently live in due to the existence of what we as Telstar call the absence or the source of fear. Now, I'm not going to go into everything about that here because I have an entire course explaining what that is, which I will link below in case you're interested in checking that out. It's called Ascension Power. But for right now, what you really need to know is that the absence is a manifestation of what occurred after a cosmic experiment went awry and created a phenomenon that works against the source of all creation, instead of surrendering to that source and existing in at-one-ment with it. And that is why we have duality and entropy in this universe. Instead of just the one I am, we have two things, the I am and the I am not, which very much resembles the computer code of 0 and 1. How curious is that? Especially when you realize that AI is our biggest problem in this universe. That's really interesting. So let me show you the simple way in which we humans are designed to manifest, and then I'll show you how the controllers are forced to manifest in illegitimate ways because they no longer have this natural power. A full spectrum awakening means to awaken to the full power of how we humans are actually designed, and then begin to restore our alignment with that power so that we can begin to experience it again. In our original design, we are centered in our hearts, which is our direct contact with the Creator of all that is. It is meant to be a continuously open gateway to infinite love and to the manifestation of that love. Now, inspiration starts in the intelligence of the heart and instantly ignites the mind with its idea in a form that desires to manifest. The mind then begins the process of creating that idea in a form that can manifest in the physical. Continuous heartfelt inspiration fuels the development of that idea and provides the energy for whatever action needs to be taken for the idea to be brought into the physical world. This is the simplest way to understand our natural power of manifestation. The truth is that it's not our power alone. We are meant to be vehicles for the power of the Creator to manifest through us. So that's what things would look like in an ideal scenario. In this case, we would only manifest beauty and abundance because that is the nature of the love and light from which everything real originates. Now, let's talk about the illegitimate way that these crazy controllers are forced to manifest because they have no other choice. When you see the contrast between them and us, you will hopefully have a better idea of how to begin a process of correcting your own situation. The controllers have completely cut off their access to the Creator. They are 100% in league with, or perhaps even swallowed up, by the absence and by AI. This means that they have no power to create, because all creative power comes from the source of all that is. So now they are in a real fix. How do they get anything to manifest? It turns out that they have to function as parasites and use other entities who still retain that power. This is why they always need captives and slaves in order to get anything done. They can't do a single thing on their own. So the way to defeat them is to cut off their energy source, which currently is us. Now, in order to understand how these controllers manifest, you need to understand how they use other entities in order to do this. As you probably know, mind control is their biggest asset and their greatest skill, which is unfortunate for those who don't understand this. They essentially begin by taking over the minds of their unsuspecting prey. The baseline tactic that they use for this is lying. It's really just that simple. It all started in that metaphor of the Garden of Eden, which in my opinion is the most tragic story ever written. But I'm going to talk about how they've taken us over right now because that's what is relevant to where we are today. They start by introducing fake, contrived thoughts into the minds of their victims. These thoughts always originate from an outside source instead of from an inspired heart. The more these fake thoughts are accepted, the more that person tends to shut down their heart as their true source of power and inspiration. Eventually, a person is convinced that the only valid source of ideas comes from an external source posing as an authority. On our planet, that source poses chiefly as government, school, religion, and society. And now we have the ever-present media mouthpieces that serve as the voices for all of these so-called authorities. So currently, our potential demise has been accelerated because the controllers can pump these fake thoughts into our minds all day long through the internet, TV, and social media. Remember when I said that the controllers can only manifest garbage? Well, it starts with garbage thoughts. Thoughts that are fear and anger based. Thoughts about violence, punishment, and reward. Thoughts that are intimidating, starting with an intimidating God, which is really the absence in disguise. I mean, have you ever seen the media put out anything but the most low vibrational thoughts imaginable. So now a person's head is filled with all of these low vibrational thoughts stemming from fear and anger. And that has an emotional impact. Instead of their emotions acting as positive fuel for the creation of something positive and good, their emotions now act as fuel for things like withdrawal, victimization, and fear. Their emotions are now geared up for anger and even violence. So the controllers fill a person's head with fake, garbage thoughts, which then affect their emotions in negative ways, starting with fear and anger. This then leads to physical actions of either compliance out of fear or violence out of anger. Instead of inspiration from the heart, you now have fear and anger from these fake thoughts. I call them fake thoughts because they are solely designed to manipulate. If you want to see this in the simplest of terms, when you are connected to the Source Creator, you will be filled with love and light. When that source is cut off, those experiences turn to fear and anger. And that's the goal of the controllers. They have a deep need to keep humanity in resonance with them, which means to keep them in resonance with fear and anger. They introduce fake thoughts designed to manipulate people into an emotional state of fear and anger. That way they can steer humanity into the corresponding actions that stem from fear and anger, which is either compliance or violence. This is how they use us to create whatever they want. And you can be sure that whatever they create will be garbage. They can never use us to create anything good because goodness comes from the Source Creator, and that is completely out of their range. So if we want to defeat these controllers, we have to stop allowing them to manipulate our minds and emotions in the ways I have described. We have to evolve out of this situation by working to restore our ability to create and manifest from love rather than from fear. And it all starts with meditation, my friends. It starts by reconnecting with your heart. And you can only do that by spending some contemplative time alone. You can only do that by setting aside the time to get to know yourself without all of the programming that you've been subjected to all your life. Who are you underneath all of that programming? What does your heart say? Now, there is no magical formula to achieve this. It's going to take time and effort to restore your natural alignment and the natural traits of being human. But it starts with understanding the controller's influence on your consciousness and cutting off that influence wherever you can. Here's something really interesting. Wherever you see toxicity in your life, you can be assured that on some level, the controllers have entered your experience either directly or indirectly. Doesn't matter how it got there because the results are the same. Negativity in one form or another. Now, there are a lot of people who will say, oh, all this negativity is great because it's here to teach us something. But this is a total mischaracterization of our situation. The negativity in our world is a sign of a parasitic force having entered our reality. If you want to get deep into the physics of all of this, you could say that the absence or the source of fear has completely infiltrated our planetary environment at an atomic and subatomic level, at a quantum level. It has inverted the natural expansion of life into one of entropy. This is why we have a food chain where the death of living things is necessary to keep other living things alive. The food chain represents a total implosion of life-based reality. And being vegan is not going to fix it because you're still eating plants, which are also alive in case we haven't noticed. See, if you do not ingest something that is alive, you will starve to death. So the unfortunate thing is that we all need for something to die in order to stay alive. Now, Bill Gates has a better idea. He thinks that plastic food is the answer, along with putting nanobots in your bloodstream to see if it's working. Wow, that is so amazing. I like to call him Mr. BG. Don't you think that kind of looks like him? Anyway, Mr. BG knows exactly how to get rid of the food chain. Make sure that nothing is alive except for artificial synthetic life that uses souls for energy. What an amazing solution. These controllers are just full of answers. Now let me explain why biological life is so important. It's because it represents the last vestiges of how the universe designed the natural beauty of creation. This is why it's so important that we preserve ourselves as natural human beings. Once we abandon everything that's natural, we also abandon our ability to evolve. Instead, we enter the totally controlled reality of AI and artificial life. So this is why we are at a critical juncture in our human journey in this universe. This is why we need to be awake and consciously choose the direction we want to go in. Now, let me just summarize how we can reignite our cosmic power to manifest and begin to align with a full spectrum of our awakening. If you understand what I've said so far, you can hopefully see how the controllers have taken us over in a parasitic way because they cannot manifest anything by themselves. As long as we continue to allow this, we will continue to experience the same results. So as individuals, we need to make ourselves one less source of energy for these creatures. We need to cut them off entirely in our consciousness. Next, we have to set about healing the immense damage that they have done to our natural human alignment and to our ability to create. This starts with giving up any need that you might feel to badmouth, to judge, or to criticize yourself. You need to stop acting as a funnel for negativity into your own consciousness. Now, guilt is totally a product of the controllers. We are not born feeling guilty. We have had this laid on us through the controller systems of punishment and reward. So you need to free yourself of guilt, which is a toxic emotion that does nothing positive. The funny thing is you can actually feel guilty for having no guilt. Isn't that crazy? That's how effective they have been at dumbing us down spiritually. Now, when I say to free yourself of guilt, I'm not saying have no conscience and just do whatever you like no matter how damaging it might be. I am saying to be conscious and full of love as much as you are able to do so under the circumstances. I also want to point out that remorse is not the same as guilt. Remorse is a positive thing that recognizes that you could have done better, and that with love you will improve and evolve. Guilt, on the other hand, is just a form of self-punishment that leads to nothing but misery and disempowerment. And the funny thing about guilt is that it eclipses our ability to feel sincere remorse, which is what motivates us for positive change. So you want to go underneath any guilt and negative programming. You want to rediscover who you are beneath all of that. Then it's important to nurture whatever you feel is positive within you. Ask yourself who you are without the negative programming, and then reconnect with that pure self through the natural love in your heart. Give that real self some energy again. It's likely been repressed for far too long. The next thing to do is to nurture your ability to manifest, starting in small ways. What can you do today to have a good day? And what can you do to have a better week? And finally, how can you improve your life overall? These things might sound simple and obvious, but it's so important to start here. Remember this simple sequence of creation. Look within to your heart. See what you feel inspired to do to better yourself and your life. Then open your mind to that inspiration. Be receptive to new ideas and thoughts that are waiting to flood your life with positive energy. Then act on those inspired ideas and positive energy. There is no shortage of this positive energy because it emerges from the source of all natural life. That's why it's important to stay connected to your heart. Your heart is the gateway to this positive energy of creation. The reason that I recommend taking small steps of manifestation is because that will help to build your confidence. It will help you start to feel more in command of your own life again. So don't feel that you have to do something big and monumental right away. Just take small, consistent steps to increase your power as a creator. Remember that these things will take some regular quiet time alone for inner discovery and contemplation, and then it will take a new type of action in your life. So take that time for yourself and decide to free yourself from the grip of these horrific controllers. You will feel so much better and so much more empowered when you do. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with anyone else who you feel could use a helping hand out of the misery that the controllers of this planet create. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and hit that notification bell because I am here every Tuesday with all new videos. And with that, I'm sending you loads of love, light, and high vibrational energy. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Namaste.